Hello. Hello and welcome everyone to the series Understand Your ICF Credential. Thank you for being here with me in this journey and truly working on yourself to understand what the ICF credentials means and what it requires to become a truly certified or credentialed ICF coach. Today we'll be talking about the ICF core competency maintains presence. What does it mean to have presence? Presence as ICF defines is the ability to remain fully conscious. It's the definition really goes as the coach is fully conscious and present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, grounded, and confident. So it's just being present in that moment that the coach is fully conscious of all that is going around him and or her and is fully conscious of whatever the client is saying or is not saying. It employs the style that is open to whatever the client is saying, flexible to dance in the moment and move with the client as to what and where the client is going, remains grounded despite whatever the client is saying. It may or may not match what the coach thinks is right, but the coach remains grounded and fully firm to help and to be there for the client and is confident in his or her own ability, his or her uh, ability, and also confident of the process that the coach is following, confident of the fact that the client has the answers within and does not need the answers from outside. So all this put together makes the client and the coach become fully present in the moment. And that's right, it's not just the coach that needs to be present. While ICF, as for the measuring part of it is concerned, the measure can only be done for the coach for the credentialing purpose, that the coach is fully present to the client. The coach is there one with the client. Uh, as far as an outstanding coach is concerned, an outstanding coach has the ability to make the client fully present in that moment as well, because it's when the client is fully present, the client is fully available and 100% there with the coach. That's when the change, the transformation truly happens. What does it mean in true sense? It's like, let me give you a small example. When you become conscious of what the client is saying, when you are present to what the client is saying, you are actually noting what the client is saying. It's like when you're driving a car. So when you're driving a car and you know when you're just learning how to drive a car, you know when to press the clutch, you know when to press the brake, you know when to, you're very conscious of when to move the gear, of how much you're turning the steering wheel, how far you have to look back in the mirror, how well you have to adjust the mirror. You're doing everything very, very consciously. And when there is a person assessing you on your driving as well, he is assessing you on these parameters. But after a few driving lessons or after a driving for a few number of times, it could be a 3 times for somebody, it could be 30 times for somebody, it doesn't matter, because each one has their own learning curve. When you are driving, you're completely unconscious. You're completely unconsciously driving. You're just becoming one with the car. You're becoming one with even the traffic that is there in the car. And that's how you're able to navigate the car. You are becoming one with the person who's sitting on the right of you or the left of you and behind you, and you're chit chatting or even probably having chips or coffee or whatever it is. And you are completely driving because you become one with the car, one with the sense of driving. And that is how you have to be as a coach as well. You're not consciously asking the person who you are or what you are, but you've become just one with that client, one with that person in that moment. It's just as important in leadership as well. When you are one with your people, when you are one with the problem that is there, you're one with the concern that you are solving, your leadership presence speaks for itself. Yeah. It's something that my trainer and my coach often says. He says, your presence is noted in your absence. It's how much your presence is felt when you are not there. And that's something beautiful. It took me a while to really understand it. And probably I'm still trying to understand it even more. But It's when the person says, okay, what would this person do when I am not there? Or what would happen if my coach, what kind of a question will my coach ask me in this moment? And I had this beautiful, uh, um, I would say, moment when one of my clients said that, I just asked myself, what would prosperity say in this moment? Or what kind of a question will prosperity ask me in this moment? And that's really the crux of it. Your presence is actually felt even in your absence, that somebody is trying to figure out what would this person do as well. You've become one with the person. It's also there, you're unconsciously present and so totally present in so many areas of your life. Let's say when you first fall in love, you're present to everything that's happening around you. You're present to everything the person you love is doing around you. Whether the person is sad, the person is happy, the person just looks at a bag and you look at, do you like it? You're completely aware of everything, and but you're not making a conscious effort of it. You make a conscious effort of it 5 years down the line and then it does not really work, right? So presence is something that you cultivate within yourself to the extent that it becomes a very, very unconscious practice. Like a child who is curious of everything going on around you. If you observe a 3-year-old child or a 4-year-old child, they are just curious about everything that is there. They obviously are not judgmental. They're not saying that this is the right way or this is the wrong way. And as a coach, if we can just have that childlike quality in us to remain curious and in the moment, just observing everything that's happening around us and curious about what the client is saying, not just to demonstrate curiosity. As far as the exams are concerned or as far as the evaluation is concerned, yes, these parameters are something that is going to be evaluated. But it's truly when you are curious from within. A child is not trying to show that he's curious, but the child is naturally curious. And if you just observe the child, you will say, it's like, how is it that he can question everything? How is it that she is able to just have so much energy? Because it's the curiosity. It's not uh, the hat that the child is wearing that I already know this. And when you have that energy of curiosity, have that energy of just being one with the person, you will naturally flow in that moment with the person. Presence is also something which is like, just dancing in the moment with the person. In our inner more shift coaching, we always we always teach a person how to get into the state of being open, flexible, and relaxed at the same time. And that relaxation does not come from watching TV, it comes from being relaxed to courageously face whatever is coming in front of you. When you are courageous, you become relaxed as well. So, being open, flexible, and relaxed is very, very important. That is not just for the coach. We always say it's also for the client, because when the client is in their presence, the client becomes fully flexible themselves. The client becomes fully trusting themselves to share whatever is in the client's mind, not just to you, but also to themselves. It requires courage to face what has been there in their mind, but they have not been totally open about it, even to themselves. So it's the first thing as a coach that I've observed is not just helping the client to become open to you, but to themselves. Are you able to cultivate that kind of a presence within you that allows the client to be open to themselves as well first, and then of course to you? And therein begins the journey wherein you are able to navigate the client to their beingness. So with that, let me tell you what are the parameters that is there for maintains presence. One is, of course, the coach remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. Now, this is something that's going to be observed in the evaluation. Remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. When you are in your presence, you're naturally focused on the client. You're not focused on the outcome so much that this is the kind of outcome I want my client to get. You do not have a preconceived notion of what kind of an outcome will this coaching session end up in. but you're naturally focused and observant of whatever is happening in the session. Demonstrates curiosity during the coaching process. You're just there and you're just somehow demonstrating curiosity by being observant of the whole of the person, of the pauses where the client is taking a pause, of the and the ahs, of the eye movement. If you're on a video call or if you're in person with your client, you're observant of everything and you're curious about everything. You even make the client curious of it. You just raise the client's awareness by asking a simple question. I'm very curious to know, you just paused over there. What does that pause mean to you? Or you paused longer over there, and you can just stop and let the client reflect on it. The coach manages emotions to stay present with the client. Of course, it's very, very essential. I mean, it goes without saying. It's if the coach themselves is somebody who's just jumping all around or is not being able to manage their emotion, the only reason the coach will not be able to manage their own emotion is because the coach has a preconceived notion of where the coaching session should go, or if the client is not coming to a conclusion which the coach thinks is the conclusion and it's so near, and why is the client not getting it? So if the coach remains open, flexible and curious about the client, the coach is confident in their own ability and in the client's ability, the coach will easily be able to manage their own emotion. It's not something that the coach has to work on very hard. It's just once you take care of everything else, this automatically happens, that you are confident as a coach, as a leader, as a parent, that the other person has the ability and you are doing the right thing. You're following the process. You know a method to help the client. You're not just there asking open-ended question. You have a complete process for it as well. And you have done your work on yourself as well. The other parameter is that the coach demonstrates confidence in working with strong client emotions during the coaching process. There are times when the client shows a very, very strong emotions. The times when, just in between the coaching session, the client can burst out crying. The client would show such strong emotions, or the client just gets very angry on something the client remembers, possibly on themselves or on others. But this is where the coach also has to remain confident. The coach has to remain balanced in their own emotion as well. The coach should be able to manage their emotion, be resilient. It's almost a state of being in this sthit pragna. It's being balanced, whole, and being present to the client at the same time. It's not about telling the client, hey, it's going to be okay. You might as well stop crying, and crying is not going to help. But letting the client express their emotion completely, not coming in the way of the client expressing their emotion completely, because the client is probably not even expressing it to you. The client has just realized something, and that is why the client is showing such strong emotions. So allowing the client to be completely there, one with themselves, one with the process, and one with themselves. And that is how it leads to the other parameters of is comfortable working in a space of not knowing. You do not know as a coach what the client is going through. You do not know as a leader what other solutions your team members might have. And you're completely comfortable in that space of not knowing because you trust the fact that your client, your subordinates, your children, they know what they have to do. And you are the facilitator, helping them to figure out what they want to do, to figure out what is the best solution for them. And that is why your presence and their presence both is equally important. And the final parameter is creates or allows space for silence, pause, or reflection. Very, very, very important. You do not interrupt the client when the client is just thinking. It might be a very long pause, but you do not go and keep saying that, do you have an answer? Or is this what you're thinking about? Or is this something that's coming in your mind? Hey, you mentioned this. Maybe this is what you're really looking at. You're just allowing the client to be in that space. And then there are sometimes I observe a coaching session And in those coaching sessions, some are very, very beautiful. I have seen coaches give even up to 2 minutes pauses. And these are conversations which is happening over the telephone. So, not fiddling. Has the line not connected? You're not fiddling that uh, is the client really there on the other side yet? The coach is present. I am myself absolutely mesmerized by how much presence that the coach can hold, knowing that the client is just thinking. And this can happen also because you are completely present to the way the coaching session is going. You know that wherever the coaching session is going, maybe the client is just silent and thinking at this point of time. If you do think that there's a disconnection or something that is happening, it's absolutely okay to just ask the client once without interrupting the client's thought. And that depends on the tonality, on what tonality you are using to help the client remain in that space of pause and reflection, and yet just checking, are you still there? So that can happen very beautifully as well. So those are the parameters of maintains presence. And if you work on yourself being present, it's just not there in that time when you are in the coaching session, because of course ICF evaluates it, and any coaching session will be evaluated on whether you are being present in that moment with the client. That would include, are you being aware of who the client is or what the situation is, or are you giving the client space to talk, are you giving the client to pause and reflect? So all those parameters are going to be evaluated. But more than that, in my opinion, and I have seen it with so many coaches, presence is something that is cultivated all through your beingness. It's cultivated all throughout. If you learn to be present in that moment to the client, you are learning to be present all across in your life as well. Sometimes you observe a game. And today morning, when I was just thinking about this video, I was thinking about also uh, a clip that I saw of Ronaldo. And he was looking at a ball. So there's this ball that's coming, and there are two players, of course, him, and there is somebody from the opponent team as well. And he is so completely focused on the ball, of where the ball is moving. It's not just his eyes that is moving with the ball, it's his entire body that is moving with the ball. And he's just in flow, becoming one with the ball. And it's beautiful. The It takes years to cultivate that kind of a presence with just the ball. You So when ICF says that you're completely observant to whatever the client is saying, you have also cultivated within yourself an ability to know what to ask next or not to ask next. That is an ability that comes very unconsciously. You cannot be conscious and then flow with that ball. You cannot lift yourself up. Ronaldo could not have lifted himself up with the ball if he at that moment said to himself, I need to push my leg forward and jump and then flow at this angle. All that calculation cannot happen in that moment. It just happens very, very unconsciously. And the more you practice being in your own presence, the more you observe your coaching sessions. It's very essential for any coach, be it at a beginner, an ACC certified coach, BC certified coach, or even an MCC certified coach, to observe your coaching session, to get coaching supervision, to know what could be done next, or what could be done different, or where could I be more present, or what could I do to develop more trust with my client, where could I ask more powerful questions. Everything is interrelated. There is no one competency which is standalone and it does not merge with the other. So even when you're maintaining presence, there might be something that the client says that says this could be the goal of the client as well, and you bring it back when you're doing the goal setting, or you do the goal setting even in that moment, even if it's just like 15 minutes into the session. So it does not have to be. It's not something which is there uh, in in the process that this has to be done first and this has to be done first and this has to be done last. It's all flowing together. Even the competencies are dancing in the moment with each other. So I'll leave you with that thought. My name is Prosperity, I'm an Inner Shift head coach, an ICF certified PCC coach. And for any query that you have about getting your ICF credential, do write back to me. You can message me or comment in the comment section, and I will get back to you. And as usual, we'll also be dropping in a link for you to take the test on maintains presence. Do let us know how you're enjoying the test or how is it benefiting you. Thank you so much for being over here. Take care. Bye bye.